And I just, again, want to welcome you. Subscribe, like, share. If you follow me, you just might F around and learn something, okay? So, yes, I have my bonnet on. Um, because baby mama tired. Okay. So if any of my friends in LA hear this message, I didn't really make a big to do about the fact that I was coming to LA. About a month ago, one of my best friends called me and he asked me, would I come and host and read for his latest book launch. Um, Y'all have seen Gregory D. Alexander and I host Two for Tea. I really wish we had done more with that, but what he wanted to do versus what I wanted to do, two different things. But I think we did really good today. There is an impromptu two for tea from the beach of the LBC. Okay, on our 2 mile walk today, uh, which I spent 24 hours basically in a city that I call home, my true home. As I always tell people, I am Mississippi born and Texas raised, but no place has ever felt like home that I've lived other than LA. And because I was only going to be there, one night only, come on, big baby, come on. I said, look, get in, do this gig, go check out Costco for dog treats. Yes, I purposely went to a Costco for dog treats because they always have different things, and they did at this Costco in Signal Hill. And so we got up, we got our walk in, went to Costco, and I got back on the road. It truly is only 4 hours between LA and Vegas. So for me, it's like it's driving from Tulsa to Dallas. Like I used to commute back and forth when I was in undergrad and law school. Because I was from Dallas. I used to go home pretty often, usually by car, sometimes by plane, because I was fortunate at that time to have two fathers who, my stepdad and my dad, both worked for airlines or for institutions that allow employees and their families to fly, budget friendly. So anyways, yes, so I was in LA. I really was supposed to be in LA first thing Saturday morning, but here's what happened to me. Brief story time. So, what happened to me last week is that I got some news. Did I already tell this story? I don't even know. But if not, you're going to hear it again. So, what happened to me? I had a lot of health challenges last week. As a matter of fact, it kind of scared me. Since my mid 30s, I had been diagnosed with high blood pressure, which I'm genetically inclined to have. And it's no amount of dieting or working out is ever going to make it go away. But as long as I do those things, as long as I do those things, it will keep it at bay. But I haven't been doing those things because number one, I can't even eat what I want to eat because we don't know if the food supply is going to kill us. Like somebody else said, bad news, food is expensive. Good news, or something like that, all of it's bad. So, we don't have to really worry about buying groceries. And we don't. Somebody asked, where am I from? I am Mississippi born and Texas raised. So, I don't know why ever do you ask, my dear? But anyways, had a lot of health challenges. I ended up going to urgent care on Wednesday. What was happening is that my blood pressure had spiked, and I knew it had. But y'all, I am a terrible keeper of my blood pressure. I ain't gonna even lie. And I know that's bad, okay? Even when you're feeling good, you should still be checking your blood pressure. And I've been on the same medication, same dosage. Maybe it's time to change meds. I really don't want to do that because that leads me to believe it's going to be progressively worse. And I don't want that for myself. But from Saturday until really, yes, what's today? Monday? Really up until Saturday, I was miserable. So I went to urgent care. I left the office, went to urgent care, which, by the way, was fabulous. I definitely will go back. Cute little urgent care, boutique urgent care in Henderson. I think it's called Elite Urgent Care. I love the customer service. They were amazing. Shout out to nurse practitioner Taylor. Amazing. Um, But I went and I was telling them everything that was going on. So I'm supposed to go to my physician, my primary care next month for my follow up for my physical and my test results, which I still haven't done. And y'all, that's another thing. I am no longer going to be derelict about that. So what ended up happening, I told her, I said, my head has not stopped hurting. Um, and she gave me a shot in the arm of something called Toradol. No, not Tramadol, because people thought automatically like Tramadol. No, Termadol. It is a high-powered, basically Aleve. It's non-steroidal, but in a little plastic cup, a little liquid shot, literal liquid shot of steroid. I don't know what it was, but it worked because I ended up going back to work, which I should not have done. But because I knew it was going to be a short week, because I had taken Friday and Saturday off, I know how I am. I'm a terrible, terrible packer when I know I have to go somewhere, even if it's only for 1 day or 2 days. Okay. So I do this. I go back to the office. There's a lot of stuff going on. One of my clients in particular, she gives me crap all the time. I really don't acknowledge it for the most part, but when she starts to allege certain things, I just help her out to explain the definition of what it is that she's saying, because I'm like, girlfriend, bring it on down. I'm sick, my head hurts, and no, she's not part of my stress because, quite frankly, it's comical at this point. But I felt bad because I had another client who I was unable to do certain things I needed to do because really that whole week I had been sick. I called out Monday. Thursday I went into the office, but I was barely making it. And then I slept. I ended up basically sleeping all day Friday. Like I'm supposed to be up packing and cleaning. Yes, even for 2 days because I'm supposed to be gone Saturday, Sunday, come back Monday. Didn't happen. I know my friend was freaking out, and I never meant to give Greg that type of anxiety. But, babe, when I tell you between being perimenopausal and having high blood pressure, which I still need to Google, because I said, I wonder if being perimenopausal causes blood pressure to spike. Because I have not seen numbers that high, and God knows when. It was 168 over 98. That's not good. If your blood pressure is what I think hypertension starts what at 140 something. I don't know. And anything over 90 you need to be concerned about basically because one of my friends who is a nurse was telling me that over 90 might want to get your heart checked, make sure the artery isn't clogged. Well, a few years ago I had a complete scan done. Heart is fine. The other issue is that I don't get to work out like I used to because number one, I don't have a gym membership anymore. There's no LA Fitnesses in Nevada, which sucks. I don't know why. I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know. I just have a thing for LA Fitness. Honestly, that was the very first gym I ever joined in my entire life. So, um, that was just me. So, but usually I'm doing run walks with my dogs. Okay. And that's not happening because of the heat here. And I'm not going to subject my dogs to the heat. I'm not going to subject myself to the heat because I don't do well in heat either. It makes me sick. You know, if I get overheated, too much heat, it's a wrap. So that's what happened. And that's also kind of why you hadn't heard from me either. Because I just was out of it. But yes, I did make it to LA. And I don't know what happened to my book copy. It got all messed up. But my friend has written a great book called Am I Doable? And he describes the book as being a combination of Sex in the City and, oh, I don't think, did he say Gilmore Girls? I can't remember. But Am I Doable is by my good friend, Gregory D. Alexander, straight up out of Detroit. And the back of the book reads, on an unusually cold and rainy LA evening, four friends gather at their usual Starbucks to laugh, vent, and lean on one another. Ari, a globe-trotting flight attendant entangled in complicated relationships. Philly, a journalist whose professional reputation hides a complicated past. Nat, a seasoned film producer, learning life's toughest lessons. And Paul, a stylist harboring secrets even from his closest friends. Together they confront aging, love, identity, and the brutal realities of life in LA with sharp tongues, brutal honesty, and undying loyalty. So I did read some excerpts from the book while I was there, and those readings were very well received. I unfortunately did not get an advance copy to read because unfortunately the people who published the books didn't get the books to him until like that week. So, but Am I Doable? What I like about it is that it's within a certain age group, which is mine, the middle-aged group, the over 40 crowd, and, maturing and aging. And also, dealing with relationships and learning how to live in your truth. Or being confronted with things that you realize, oh my God, in the grand scheme of things, is it really that bad? But Am I Doable? It seems like it's going to be a fun read. I'm going to try to get it read this week and do an actual review. I am going to have to reacclimate myself to editing again. I have not, I'm so lazy when it comes to doing content. As far as the editing portion, I'll just throw it up there because I'm like, at this point, who cares? I mean, I care, but I'm so overwhelmed. Like, I don't know what happened. I kind of just went off the rails with my patience, but I got to reacclimate myself to the Apple editing app. See, I can't even tell you what the hell it's called anymore. But anyways, I need to use that to chop up the readings. Now, the visual is not going to be that great because I forgot to bring my tripod. And I don't know what I was thinking when I didn't bring it, but I know what I was thinking. Get the hell out the house. You got the rental car. Just go. Shout out to Hertz for hooking me up every time I get ready to go out of town and rent a car. And my friend was like, why do you rent a car? Number one, I'm not putting the miles on my car. Number two, I desperately need tires. I need a full set, but if I get 2 new tires, I'll be okay. Anyway, right now my finances are still in influx, if you know what I mean. I said, I was like, you ever wish that you should literally just go outside and tap a tree and money would just fall out? That would be great. Because like, hey, I just need an extra $1,000 to reset all my finances. That's it. But I was excited to be in LA. When I hit that California line, I was like, oh my God, I'm home. But man, I do not miss the traffic. It's Sunday. Why is there so much traffic? It don't matter. It's Saturday. Why is there so much traffic? It don't matter. So, yeah, I had a good time, very brief time. But Hertz hooks me up. They always hook me up with the SUVs because I always ask for an SUV and it's always economically priced. But y'all, what I did not know, and I don't know if anyone recalls this of me talking about it, but back when I first got out of college looking for a job, I realized I kind of talked myself out of a job. I was interning for State Farm's regional office in Tulsa, but I hated Tulsa so much, and I'm so young and dumb. And I wish I had talked or listened more so to my brother, Evan, God rest his soul, one of my frat brothers who was working at State Farm, who probably could have helped kept me there. But I just really hated Tulsa, Oklahoma at the time. It was very boring. It's much better now. They have a Trader Joe's, so they really are much better, right? Um, but I ended up taking my very first job and very first managerial role was as a manager trainee at Hertz Local Edition. Right there, I don't even remember the cross streets anymore, but it was in Uptown Dallas, and we had a main office off of was it Inwood? Shit, I don't even remember. I want to say Inwood and Maple, but I could be totally wrong. There was a 7-Eleven next door, and there was a gay bar there where I saw things I never in my 23 years had seen before until then. Um, Hi, Jack. You have a good day too. Um, Oh, and there was a leather. Well, I don't want to say. Is it improper to say? But anyway, it was a gay bar with people with lots of leather on. I'll say that. I had never seen anything like that before in my life because we would go out the back because that's where we kept all the cars. It was a great location. And then we had a satellite office at the Jeep Volkswagen dealership and a satellite office at the Ford dealership. But I always, people are like, why would you rent from Hertz? It's just what I do. And did y'all know Hertz and Dollar Thrifty had merged? I didn't know that. That's like so weird. I remember when Hertz, Penske, Ford all had a partnership. And I don't know what happened to that. That's when I was working there because we got Jaguars and all that type of stuff because Ford owned Jaguar at one point. I don't know if they still do. I don't know what's going on anymore. Everybody's merging together to try to hold on together. Did you know Discover and Capital One had merged? That's an interesting combination. And you know what else I didn't know? As long as I've had a Discover card, I never noticed on the back of it says Diners Club. Who remembers Diners Club cards? Like that was the creme de la creme next to American Express back in the day. I said, shit, I ain't seen one of those since the days of the Colbys. And some of y'all will not have a clue what I'm talking about when I say the Colbys. Um, how about the Ewings? Okay, so anyway, yeah, shout out to the Hertz on Gibson in Auto Center here in Henderson. Appreciate you. Really appreciate you. Y'all be hooking us and stuff. They gave me a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and I was like, you know what? It's like full circle moment. Cause like when we were at Hertz, a lot of times we would get Jeep Grand Cherokees. That was like the big deal SUVs back then, even in 99, 2000, right? My boss used to be so heated at us. He'd be like, y'all, Afia, y'all stop taking the Jeeps out. Y'all can't be doing, baby, we would be gone. I'd be like, oh, this one needs a wash. But meanwhile, I'm actually going up the street to Sonic. I mean, I did go get it washed, but still. I said, this is like full circle. And what made me smile even more is that the Jeep was white. It was tinted and it had black leather interior. I said, oh my God, I have to go get me one. Every time they give me a car at this Hertz, I'm always like, I have to go get this. Like at one point I wanted this Volvo SUV. I'm trying to think what else. What other SUVs have I had? I had an Arcadia, which was very nice. I'm a leather interior type chick. Once I got hold of leather, I never wanted anything else after that. And my Acura, it is a 2014. It's white with black interior. It's still under 100,000 miles. Thank you, Carvana. And I forgot what's the CEO's name. He hooks me up too, because Carvana was on some BS. And I will never forget, I was so pissed because I was so excited. I've always wanted, I wanted another black car. My Toyota Solara was black and they had an Acura. It was a 2013 and it didn't have a lot of mileage on it either. But when I got it, I said, where the hell they dig this car for? The wheels didn't match. It was dirty. It didn't have a tech package. It was horrible. So then I found a 2014. And let me tell you how rude the people are at Carvana who are on the phones. Mind you, I'm sure they're just doing their job. But to tell someone, no, we're not going to give you an additional discount if you find a similar vehicle, number one. Number two, no, we're not going to deliver the vehicle to you and take back the old vehicle. Number three, all I got to say in this scenario with number three is that because thank God we were in a pandemic, you better not put no more than 500 miles on it a day because, $500 in the week's time until we can deliver your next car because we're going to charge you by the mile. I said, no, you're not. I said, because what if we weren't in a pandemic and I wasn't working from home and I had to commute? I said, you all messed up. I said, I took my car to CarMax and sold them that car. And now you're going to give me what I want. I said, you're also going to give me this 2014 at the same price. They said, no. I said, what's your CEO's email? They wouldn't give it to me. What they don't know is I'm very resourceful. Baby, I can find somebody in 3.2 seconds. Don't play. What was his name? Oh, Ernie. I remember I was sitting in the Acura dealership when I got my new car to let him know what had happened. And it was like, dear Ernie. And I broke it down for him. And then I told him, I said, I would hate to have to escalate this to the Georgia Attorney General regarding how you do business in the state of Georgia. Baby, they heard him cut me a check for the difference. He didn't call me, but somebody called. I got my car fully repainted because there were so many chips on the front. Now I know that's from wear and tear, but I don't give a damn. It doesn't matter. The way that you presented this car online versus, and the fact that I had to wait another week. One of my best friends drove from Alabama to be there while we watched the car drop because we were so excited. And plus to make sure I had a ride to go pick it up. Instead, I ended up having to catch an Uber. An Uber there. It was just crazy. But either way, I know Carvana has some things going on, and clearly they do. So I have to shop for new insurance, and the insurance agent talking about, yeah, in the last 5 years, you've had 2 accidents. I'm like, where? Who the hell is filing accidents on my car insurance? I don't have any. Didn't have one in Reno, Sparks, Carson City. Haven't had one in Atlanta. So I'm trying to figure out, the last accident I had was in November 2016. And the only reason I remember that is because that was my mother's 60th birthday. My boyfriend and I had just got through dropping off the rental at the Long Beach airport. He's driving my Solara. Some cab driver ran into the back of him. That was 2016. It's 2026. That was November will be 10 years. You said 5 years ago? How and when? The only thing I can think is that Carvana had something on that car that was never disclosed to Carfax or any of them. That's the only thing I could think of. But anyways, we have a couple of news stories I'm going to talk about. One in particular we talked about, two Sundays ago. The story of Elisa Goods, who came here to Las Vegas for vacation. Sadly, I am sad to report, and I'm sure many of you have seen this, she was found in a drainage ditch by Terminal 1 at the Harry Reid Airport here in Las Vegas. Now, the Terminal 1 cameras show the 63-year-old mother and grandmother trying to stand up, then collapsing. And I think she got up again, but collapsed the second time, rolled down the hill. And that's where she ended up in the drainage ditch. And I'm like, and nobody saw this on camera? Now, her daughter and niece or someone shared that recently Miss Goods had had some surgeries, and she also had suffered from iron deficiencies. I just can't imagine what it could possibly have been. And it was obvious from the comments in some of the news stories, people hadn't followed the back story. So I think her good friend she had known for 9 years, I think his name is Robert Goods, said, hey, I'm going to go catch the bus to go to CVS to get some iron pills. But she never came back. And I don't know what type of work Mr. Goods does, but it sounds like it's shift work. So, they could have been 2 ships passing in the night. But after 2 days, he realized maybe I should call. And here's the other thing, because people are like, oh, he must have had something to do with it. I honestly don't get that vibe, but okay. Maybe he did. I don't know, but I don't get that vibe because based upon what I know and what I've seen in a number of true crime stories, oftentimes people do not want to report people missing because the cops will immediately say some stuff like, oh, well, she's an adult. Maybe she decided to disappear. You need to wait 24 hours or you need to wait 48 hours. Now, if it's a child, sometimes I know it's different, but for the most part, what are we supposed to report? Because when we know for sure in our heart of hearts that someone is missing, y'all don't believe us. So that's what happened, basically. And I think what happened is that because she was from New York, and in New York, they're so used to taking public transportation, she miscalculated. It was 114 degrees August 8th here in Vegas. Baby, if you iron deficient, maybe let yourself get a little dehydrated. You might not make it in this heat. My friend that I was just doing his book release, Greg, he was saying that when he used to live in Vegas, probably about 15, 20 years ago, he said he woke up in the ER. He was waiting for the bus. It was so hot. They found him flat as a pancake on the sidewalk, and the people that called 911, and he woke up in the ER. The heat here is nothing to play with, okay? So prayers up to that family. Now we have another story that is pretty much wrapped, but what the people want to know is, Catrice, where were you, girl? Okay? So this 59-year-old woman packs up her life to move to Atlanta, Georgia. Her name is Catrice Simmons. Family ain't seen or heard from her in 2 months. And she packed up to leave Florida, move in with her boyfriend, the Honorable Bishop Alonzo Moreland, who pastors some church in where is this church at? Not Green Valley, Lord, that's Henderson. What's the name of that mall in Atlanta or that area in Atlanta? Green something, but either way, it's Fulton County. He talking about he don't know where she is. Sir, what do you mean you don't know where she is? Like, she packed up, she got this U-Haul, and, her personal belongings, it's still unclear whether she turned in the U-Haul, because that's what everybody, like, well, did she turn in the U-Haul? Because if she turned in the U-Haul, but apparently she was found alive. Now, once again, I'm going to say this. She 59, she grown, maybe she wanted to get gone. Maybe she wanted to disappear from everybody, because y'all know to this day, I'll go back to this store where that lady disappeared around Christmas time and people hadn't seen her, all because she caught a DUI. I'm like, ma'am. Then some dude, I just read another story. Let me see if I can find it. It was on my Facebook. Y'all, uh, what was it? Oh, wait a minute. Before I even get into this story, did y'all hear this story, y'all? So I don't know how long ago it was, but this story occurred in Madisonville, uh, Kentucky. Headline: Baby dies after grandmother allegedly left her in a hot car for 8 hours. Y'all know what grandma do for a living? Grandma is a full-fledged MD. She's a physician. Baby, you can't be my doctor if you that absent-minded. Police in Madisonville, Kentucky are investigating the death of 10-month-old Scotty Crowell after she was reportedly left inside a vehicle for approximately 8 hours. Last Thursday, Scotty's father arrived at the daycare to pick her up and learned she had never been dropped off that morning. He contacted his wife, who then called her mother, Dr. Stacy Fazenbaker, who had taken Scotty earlier that day. According to reports, Dr. Fazenbaker received the call while at work and ran to her vehicle, where she discovered Scotty unresponsive and still secured in her car seat. She had reportedly arrived to work at 8 a.m., but Scotty was not discovered until approximately 4 p.m. Someone immediately called 911, but tragically, Scotty could not be saved. Police said a blood draw was performed on Dr. Fazenbaker as part of a standard investigative protocol, although authorities reportedly do not anticipate the results will reveal anything significant. The Madisonville Police Department is completing its investigation. Once finished, the case will be presented to a grand jury, which will determine whether any criminal charges should be filed. Honestly, I think it's an honest mistake. It is unfortunate that you went and picked up your grandchild and then you kind of forgot about her. That's odd, but okay. And then the mama is a doctor too. Shared many beautiful moments from her pregnancy and her daughter's short life online. It is clear that Scotty was deeply loved, and my heart is with everyone grieving this unimaginable loss, is what the writer of this one says. Where was I going? There was something else. Oh, who else on here? Who else of my followers follow Dalton's All Right or something like that? And he has this South African wife named Sako, a black chick. Well, there's. Oh Lord, that was his voice. Baby, I don't know what's going on with that. According to them, they getting a divorce now, and yeah, it ain't all peaches and cream. I don't know. It's weird. So, what am I doing? Oh, real quick, let's talk about this. Why is this? Wait a minute. Did it close? So, here's something else. So, y'all remember when that man was unalived in Utah, and like for some reason he became like a martyr for the holy and unsaved Christians of MAGA. That's what I'm gonna call them, the holy unsaved Christians of MAGA. So what's her name? So the Washington Post, which isn't the Washington Post owned by Conehead Jeff Bezos? The Washington Post has been ordered to rehire columnist Karen Attiah after firing her over social media posts she made following the assassination of CK. His wife's name is Erica. Among the posts at issue, Attiah wrote that refusing to tear my clothes and smear ashes on my face in performative mourning for a white man that espoused violence is not the same as violence. She said her posts were part of her work commenting on political violence and the public discourse surrounding Kirk's killing. Whew, excuse me. The Post argued her comments violated its standards on civility and harmed the organization's integrity. An arbiter has now sided with Atia, finding that the Post did not have good and sufficient cause to fire her and failed to establish gross misconduct. The company was ordered to reinstate her and provide back pay. Atia called the decision a victory for freedom of expression. I concur in this opinion. First of all, I don't even know who this lady was, but I'm willing to bet this. There's going to be a lot of walking back going on. I think they said over 35, did they say 35,000 black women have lost their jobs? I can't remember the numbers, but statistically, they came for us. Hell, they came for me before we even had a bunch of us getting kicked out. But that's a story for another day. I often talk about it. Yes, I'm still bitter about it. And therapeutically, it's great for me to talk about it. But I'm glad that she will be getting her job back. Now, whether she chooses to take it, take the money for sure. Because it's ridiculous that we have freedom of the press, we have freedom of speech. And I get it. When we talk freedom of speech, you are not free from consequence. But the very fact that you are being so hypocritical, like, let's walk back to even when Jimmy Carter died, how disrespectful they were. We have a tradition here in America where all the flags at the capitals and across America are half-staff. Angry Wig, or as Rashonda Elias calls him, a bag of farts and felonies. Girl, that should be a t-shirt. Made a big to-do about it. Somebody dies. He says the most god-awful things, but heaven forbid you said anything bad about CK. You were censured. And it was wholly unnecessary because at the end of the day, he was an undereducated man who opted to go the way of the moneymaker and espouse hate and cause division. And I spoke about this recently about how you really have to look at people and wonder what is wrong with you where you can meet somebody, not know anything about them, but on sight decide you hate them because they are melanated. It doesn't make sense. It shouldn't make sense to you. You should stop living off of these theories that all black people are bad. I'm watching right now this documentary that rapper Rick Ross put together about Miami drug kingpins. And it's very fascinating because the stories have been told time and time again that it is the federal government. Okay, number one, let's walk it back. Redlining. So, yeah, we don't want black people, undesirables, in our neighborhoods. They're bad. So you redline. GI Bill says you get a house. Federal government, these municipalities say, no, you can't because this is the law. No Negroes can be here. So you have to go over there. Then they were talking about the projects, the housing developments, where they said they thought it would be a good thing for these families living in poverty in shacks with no air and running water, particularly in Florida, right? So they built these projects. And I remember Jay-Z saying it, do you know what a project is? It's an experiment. And If you really think about it, that's what they did. And what it really was, have you ever seen the movie Reservoir Dogs or even understand where that title came from? If you Google and look up what happens when dogs, a pack of dogs, are left in a reservoir, what happens? Eventually they go insane and they start killing each other. And then there's usually only one dog that survives. That's the projects. Then factor in the CIA, George Herbert Bush, head of CIA. Factor in also someone who did the cleanup, uh, Ronald Reagan. You know, Johnny Carson, God rest his soul, asked Reagan in when he was on the Tonight Show about the CIA and the crack and guns that were coming into the projects. And, well, yeah, well, Johnny, I'm on the committee, and I can't really say. Meanwhile, when you became president, you had your wife running around here talking about. He said he was on the commission for the CIA. He couldn't talk about it. Then whether he was going to run for a presidential bid, he couldn't talk about it. And he ran and he won. He beat out Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter did not get a second term. Unfortunate. So then we ended up with the Iran Contra affair. We end up with a crack epidemic in mainly the ghettos and projects in America. But do you know how that came to be? When you had the CIA and all these other government entities out here putting stuff in the streets and flooding and assisting in the destruction of a group of people, what do you expect? And for some reason, man never, ever, ever learns these lessons. You cannot contain that. Okay. Lil Becky Sue might also want to pursue a black man. Okay. Now she hooked. Everybody and their mama you would see out on the streets, strung out on crack. And because you force people, because of Red Summer, we'll take it even further back than that, 1915 to 1921, basically. There was a time when you went into these fully functional, self-sufficient black neighborhoods where blacks were thriving, and you destroyed them. And then you wonder why people decided, yeah, sure, CIA, hand me the guns and the crack. We'll do it. We'll sell it because we can make millions tax-free and get away with it if we live and if we don't get caught and end up in federal prison. Well, that's when the guidelines changed. When Reagan came into office, I'll do a deeper dive and have better statistics and details about what happened later on. But I was really fascinated. I said, this really pisses me off watching this. And then in 2018, Angry Wig, bag of farts and felonies, comes along. And he does a clemency thing for all these people that got locked up for these drug offenses. Because what they did was they said that if you got busted selling crack, your penalty for doing that was higher than that of someone selling good old Colombian cocaine, that white girl. Ain't that something? And who was selling crack? Mainly black people. Okay. So everybody was like, well, what the hell does that mean? And why is it that it just was? Because they were hoping to destroy the black community. That was the goal. But instead, you ended up producing drug addicted babies. Not to mention, let's not forget, drugs also led to the spread of HIV/AIDS. because people were willing to do any and everything to get that next high, to get that next fix, baby. So you did a lot of damage, but it also spread because you can't contain it. It spread. So, Ronald Reagan, George Herbert Bush, and all those parties complicit in that, and Nancy talking about just say no to drugs. But your husband helping getting it into the community. Him and his vice president. Okay. Yeah. But they don't ever want to talk about that dark history. But it's in the white papers. You can do a request and you can find all this information there if you wanted to. But many people don't want to deal with that. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about real quick before I go to bed, because I need to go to bed. I already talked about her story. Department of Education. Now, this is a sore subject for me because I have yet to get any of my loans forgiven. So, what's her name? Mac Mahone. These are some of the most incompetent secretaries, people I've ever seen. So, what's her name? Linda McMahon. Her husband ran, wrestling. The student loan borrower advocacy groups are raising alarms over the Education Department recent rollback of student loan forgiveness. This is from Forbes. Warning that the efforts could trap borrowers in debt for additional months or years. It could even result in the reinstatement of student loans that have already been forgiven. The concerns on the department's reversal of this month's qualifying payments towards public service loan forgiveness, a program that promises debt relief for borrowers who commit to working in the nonprofit or public sectors for at least 10 years while repaying their student loans under certain repayment plans. PSLF, enacted under President George W. Bush in 2007, was intended to provide an incentive for graduates to work in high-need fields that traditionally pay less than equivalent positions. In the private sector, the department, citing efforts to fix data errors it blames on the Biden administration, has been clawing back qualifying payments that borrowers had earned towards loan forgiveness. I'm going to tell you something. And I said this. Until y'all get these nefarious, felonious people out of office, leave us alone. Leave all of us alone. Y'all just letting them run amok. When you see the disappointment in the black community when it comes to Hakeem Jeffries, nobody understands why we are disappointed. I mean, he was just seen meeting with the president's son-in-law. What is his name? Kushner. I don't know what them people's name is. But either way, get ready, y'all. They are really, and you can't eat shit. I mean, at this point, it might be safer. I'm going to have to do some research. I keep hearing rumblings about horses. I know one thing, y'all better leave them beautiful Mustangs along in northern Nevada. God, I hope they're all safe. And for the record, people, northern Nevada is Reno, Sparks, Carson, Tahoe. Southern Nevada, Boulder City, Las Vegas, Henderson. Is it Laughlin? Yeah, Laughlin, Pahrump. There might still be a tomb of gold somewhere in the desert in Pahrump. Or Pahrump, however it's pronounced. But either way, there is a 10,000 square acre fast moving fire. As a matter of fact, it's not too far from where I used to live, apparently. Low key, I was like, just let the whole development burn. But at the same time, I thought about it. I wouldn't want my stuff to burn up. I don't want nothing bad to happen. But they could just hit that house if it's vacant that I lived in. That was a nightmare. I'm going to tell y'all something. Don't ever rent in those Lennar homes. Or rent from any property being handled by Ferrari Lund, because they are the worst. Okay. I'm still to this day trying. If I wish I had been in a better mental space to fight them, because there is no way in hell I should have been liable for grass. They wanted to evict me for the fucking grass in the front. And I'm like, I can't help if that burnt up. I got lawn care. Y'all obviously had the developers put in shoddy glass. Why don't they just get turf? Because I'm sorry, from a legal perspective, there is if you tell me I'm responsible for the lawn, I'm gonna tell you this. Always ask for this in the lease now too. When they tell you responsible for the lawn, ask them to what extent, and if you have to, have them tack on an addendum or something, because don't ever fall for the okey doke. Okay. But the fire is bad. One of my friends had texted me talking about, "Are you safe?" And I'm like, "Oh snap! What done happened in Vegas?" No, Northern Nevada, and I pray that all my friends that the handful of friends that I have, that they are safe, because that's messed up. I mean, these fires. I mean, the heat is so bad here, and apparently the fire was started by somebody. It wasn't just like, oh my God, we're on fire. No, apparently they're on fire. I don't know. Let's see what else. There was something else I wanted to talk about. Yeah, that was one thing. Oh, Dalton ain't worried. That's the name of the handle. Y'all can check that out. Y'all, I didn't know that Pantieri's mother was horrible. And that they were estranged. I was like, oh Lord. But I'm gonna close out on this note. You can't win when you're dirty in life. So remember, what was that? Springfield, Illinois. Sonia Massey in July of 2024 called the Springfield police to come out because she thought she had a prowler at her house. Y'all remember that? Remember, she was fixing something on the stove. We do know that she had some mental health issues, and ended up getting shot at 36 years old, point blank, by a cop who was trigger happy. And she called for help, and during the brief, he was like, "Can you put that down?" I guess he thought maybe she was gonna toss it on him or something. But I'm like, sir, you could have ducked and moved, and you could have shot her without killing her if she even tossed the water towards you. Um, he was found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison in January 2026. The Illinois Prisoner Review Board unanimously denied Grayson's bid for an early medical release. Baby, he did. He didn't even make it a full 6 months. He did. He had sought release due to advanced colon cancer that had spread to his liver and lungs. A request strongly opposed by Massey's family and prosecutors. You want compassion, but you didn't give that woman compassion. I ain't got nothing for you. Because y'all be out here murdering folk and just don't even think about the consequences. Because you may get prosecuted, but there are also consequences that the universe gives, that God hands out. Out of Brooklyn, New York, a Brooklyn mother of 5 was killed after being jumped by ex's family. A Brooklyn mother of 5 was fatally shot after a fight involving her ex-boyfriend's relatives erupted during a family day gathering at a Crown Heights, New York, NY Cha complex. I don't know what that is. Is that a project? Housing project? So Franny Hartzog, 33, was shot near Bergen Street and Howard Avenue around 2:20 a.m. Sunday, according to the NYPD. Nearly 100 people were at the Kingsborough Houses event when a group of women allegedly attacked Hartzog. NYPD Chief of Detective Joseph Kinney said Thursday, "I believe members of her ex-boyfriend's family were also at the event." Police said Hartzog's family then retrieved a gun from her vehicle and fired shots into the air. Members of the other group returned fire, striking Hartzog in the abdomen. Hartzog stumbled into the Ooh La La Lounge on Howard Street, where staff tried to help before she was taken to the hospital, where she later died from her injuries. A 34-year-old man was also shot during the chaos and is expected to survive. The killing has devastated Hartzog's loved ones and neighbors. She leaves behind 5 children between the ages of 6 and 18. I almost passed out. We just saw her. Her friend Jennifer Ortiz says it hit home because she is our neighbor. No arrests have been announced, and detectives are still searching for the shooter. Y'all need to really stop thinking with, let me get a gun and just, yeah, whatever. Finally, actor Michael Wright has passed, aka Eddie Kane. He died from, and I can't pronounce this condition, but heart failure and Marshifava Bignami disease, or MBD. It's a rare neurological disorder marked by the damage and death of nerve fibers in the corpus callosum, the bridge connecting the brain's 2 halves. It's most common in people with, get this, chronic alcohol use disorder or severe malnutrition. So it sounds like him and Eddie Kane had a lot in common. I always felt like whenever I would see him in movies that he was a little off, but my prayers go up for his friends and family. I know he was married. He was only 70 years old. And I say only because 70 is not that old these days, because so many people are living to be so much older. But anyway, just wanted to hop on here and give you guys an hour because I totally missed doing it. But I feel better. And it's weird because I guess maybe just going home really helps me feel better. And like I tell people, it's not my job that triggered all of this. I think it's perimenopause. And I think it was some news that I got. I've got to figure out how to navigate this particular news and deal with it. And I may actually sit and tell my story one day as to the why, without stepping on any toes or offending anyone. Let me not even say offending anyone, but protecting those that I actually love and care about. Because I've already told that truth once before, but I decided to take it down. But I may tell it again. But I think that's what triggered the migraines and the severity of them, because in my subconscious, I just couldn't figure out how am I going to navigate this situation, because it's an impossible position to be in. But anyways, comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of some of the things that have happened. I do hope that you all will be checking out my friend's publication. Again, I will be revisiting how to edit video using the Apple Video Editor, because I honestly have kind of forgotten. I'm like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? But once I read up on how to do something, I can usually do it. But again, my friend's book drops. It'll be on Amazon.com. Am I Doable by Gregory D. Alexander. And maybe we'll do an audiobook or something. Like he was like blown away by me reading these characters in their voices. Um, but I was very, very excited to do it because it's something I love. Because I've always done that. Like I'm always the person when I read, I do the voices. Even I used to annoy the hell out of my classmates in school. And one lady was like, "Oh my God, if I ever write a book, I want you to do the audiobook for me." I said, "Totally, girl, no problem." But I'm always been that person. When I used to tutor, as I like to say, shout out to Faith Inspirational Missionary Baptist Church in Compton, California, where my pastor at the time was the Reverend Rafer Owens. It's my understanding that he is now pastor emeritus, and I think one of his sons is preaching and running the church now. But anyway, we used to have a tutoring ministry, and if there was time and the children had finished reading, I would read to them, and they would be so excited because they're like, "Oh my God, she's going to do the voice. Are you going to do the voices?" Yes, I'm going to do the voices. I do the voices. So, and I remember my ex always said that's what made my comedy special, because not only am I a storytelling comedian, but I also do voices. Like you can actually see these people for who they are. But I just honestly am lazy. Be honest, I am, and I keep saying I'm gonna go back up on the comedy stage, and I should. I see all of my friends and associates, a lot of us who came through the art of stand-up comedy with David A. Arnold, and some of them are doing really well. Like one of my homies is like a cruise ship comedian living her best life. I don't know if I could do that because, baby, I got fur babies and I can't live without my children. I spent one night in this house. No, I spent 2 nights in this house by myself without my dog. I did not feel safe. Okay. Anyway, y'all make it a great night. Again, I've been Miss Sophia the Diva. Be sure to share, subscribe, and like, and have a great night. Have a great rest of your week. I intend to.